Of course, when I talk NBA, there's very few people I go to, but this guy definitely one of the few. My man Matthew Damien. He's also the host of the I Still Love This Game podcast. Matt, what's up, buddy?
Not much, but I'm disappointed. You never introduced me as an author.
An author of the book, actually. What the hell name of the book? We
The
discussed
great. It's a very original name, a title. It's the greatest teams in NBA history.
We discussed the last time you were on the pod. We did discuss the book, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Your podcast actually, by the way, is done very well. At one point, it was number 2 on the sports charts. It actually was ahead of Bill Simmons, was ahead of Bomani Jones.
I wasn't ahead of Bill Simmons. That's the only one.
No. It wasn't ahead of Bill Simmons at one point when I saw it.
Oh, was it?
Yes, you were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Because
I don't know how you do it. You just do it. You do the damn thing. I mean, maybe it's your criticism of LeBron James for years. I don't know. People.
Oh, stop it!
Maybe it's.
I was heartbroken when he left.
Maybe it's the sultry Australian voice. I don't know. I mean, you and I have been now friends for over 6 years, and how that is the case, I don't know. But one thing that I just found that, well, I've known for a couple of weeks now, but you are now officially an American citizen. You moved here.
Oh, no, not yet.
You got married.
I will be. Yeah, I will be. I just married an American. She's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw that out there in case she's listening.
Congratulations on one. Congratulations on your marriage and moving here, of course.
Yeah, but I'm not officially a United States citizen. We'll have to go in for a joint interview just to make sure that the marriage is bona fide. And then, yeah, I'll be a U.S. citizen.
You're now a continent closer to aggravating me. Good job.
Not just a continent, an entire hemisphere.
Entire hemisphere, bro.
Not that far away, man.
Now, did you ever stay here for a long period of time before now?
The longest I've been here was 6 weeks, and that was during winter. So it's a very different lifestyle up here when it's summer.
And what's the in?
Ohio, but we went everywhere. We went to Georgia, we went to your state, we went to Florida, but not down to Miami. We went to Tampa. Mm-hmm. We've been all over the place. We've been to Illinois. We've been to Washington, D.C. We've been to New York. I can't even count how many different states. Pennsylvania, obviously, for Philadelphia. New Jersey for a Giants game. You would have been envious of that one. That was
I already am. Thanks for rubbing it in, buddy. Appreciate it. Continue.
That was the infamous Odell Beckham Jr. and Norman game.
The Carolina game. That was the 50-0 Panthers, or 14
That
Panthers.
was, and they won by a field goal. And that Odell Beckham, and people forget about this. Beckham actually had him beat on the very first drive, and he dropped the ball. He had a wide open touchdown had he caught it.
I remember that.
And the Giants had an incredible comeback. They ended up tying it in the fourth quarter. And I can't remember the name of the kicker, but Newton marched him down, who I think is going to have a hell of a year this year, by the way. Marched him downfield and then got a game-winning field goal in the dying seconds.
By the way,
and of course, next week.
But it's worth noting that Matthew also does watch the NFL too. He may be an NBA guy, but he does watch the NFL. Anyway, LeBron James is now a Laker. The worst kept secret lasts like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
4 years. I was shocked too because not about the move, because we all knew about this was going to happen, but he basically in layman's terms, he put himself in Magic Johnson's and Rob Pelinka's hands. Take me in, no trade clause. Is it not even in there? No trade clause in his contract.
Is there a player option?
There's a player option for year 4. That's it. That's the only option he has. But he didn't sign no trade clause on that. So he's basically saying, take me in. And basically, this is it. He's a Laker, committed, not just like a one-on-one. This is pretty much. I'm gonna say 4 years. I mean, assuming he opts in, a 4-year project, what I want to call it. I am to me, this in some ways it kind of sort of is like kind of the white flag to the Golden State Warriors, but in a lot of ways also too it could be. I don't know.
I'm just laughing because if I had said that, I would be killed.
No. In a lot of ways, too, you can look at it that way. In other ways, too, it could be also learning the lesson of trusting the front office that he did in Miami and was successful with in Miami, and then trying to be the all-everything in Cleveland, which, yes, he won a title and won the 4 finals, but it was a lot more difficult. He made his job more difficult. in Cleveland. And I think
he have like 4 or 5 different hats there.
And I think LA, he's realizing, you just let me, you do what you gotta do, buddy. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree with you that he's had to place a lot of trust into the Lakers organization. I don't think he's had a kumbaya moment and realized that he has to do that. I think just the Lakers won't sign off the franchise to anybody, whether it's Kobe or whether it's Shaq or anybody else, big name players. Even Magic, when he was playing, he never run that show. Remember, he clashed with Pat Riley for a lot of early on. Kareem's the same. He wasn't he was obviously a high maintenance guy. So the Lakers organization, although very different in terms of management now as opposed to those glory years, they've never been the one to cave into one superstar, no matter how big that superstar has been. So if he wanted to go play in LA for whatever reason, right? I can't figure that one out. If he's chasing championships, or not chasing championships, but he wants to enhance his greatness, you would think rings would. That's the only blemish on his record is his finals record, and he's not going to improve that in LA. But we'll get to that in a second. What I did want to point out is sort of go off what you were saying was why he would actually place his trust into Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson. It's simply because he doesn't have a choice. If he wants to wear the purple and gold, he can't run the franchise.
Right, and you said too, even the greats, Kobe, Wilt, you name it, go down the list, Magic, Kareem, Shaq, didn't have this control. Mm-hmm. The Cavaliers are a franchise that does not have the history of, not even the Miami Heat for that matter. They don't have a championship.
But they have Pat Riley. Pat Riley doesn't
exactly.
Anybody.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So the fact that, you're right. I think he had no choice. But I also think it's also LeBron simplifying everything now. You know what? The Warriors are who they are, and they're going to be this good for the next couple of years, probably. At least the next 2 years. Who knows if they keep that team that core longer?
I love to ask you something. I want to ask you a question.
What
other options did he have? It wasn't the decision.
Winnable options in terms of championships, in terms of this.
Just appealing options. How about appealing options?
I mean, look, everybody says Philadelphia. I disagree with that. I didn't see I didn't see the fit in Philadelphia. So I don't know how you felt about that necessarily. I didn't see the fit there at all.
It was a good little tease, but that wasn't going to work out.
I mean,
not Ben Simmons.
I thought obviously the economics of Houston made it harder if they're able to keep their team together with not having to blow up their entire roster to do it. Then I would have said Houston would have been a good viable fit, but again, and that would require them gutting their roster. And what's the point in doing that?
But once again, when you look at Houston, there's a lot of Houston went to a Game 7 of the conference finals, really the NBA finals, right? Without him. If they don't win with him, that's a major failure, a huge failure.
Of course it is. And you sign LeBron, you lose Capella, and Capella's just as important to that team, honestly, as LeBron, because Capella does the things that LeBron won't do.
Absolutely.
So
I agree with that.
So I think Houston would have been. The problem was that obviously the economics there too. LA was the best shot because LA at this point, has the cap room to add more. They have the Lakers, of course. The name sells itself. They are probably going to get Kawhi Leonard, if not now, maybe next year. So again, LA was the best was the obvious choice when we looked at the entire totality of the situation. So
right.
there really wasn't a choice here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was either Cleveland or LA, and I thought he was gone for a while now. He's checked out from he's played hard, but he hasn't played hard on the defensive end. And he caused a lot of drama up in Cleveland. Of course
he did. Absolutely.
I've said this on my podcast many times, and this is why people call me a hater or whatever. But I'm just calling it how I see it.
You do. I'm not saying you're a hater, but you do toe that line sometimes, though.
Oh, sometimes I have fun with it.
Of course you do.
I agree that I'll have some fun with it. But what I'm saying is he and you're talking about why I've been successful as a podcast. I'll actually call it out. I'm not going to sit up there and pretend that he isn't the cause of a lot of the drama. A lot of the stuff he's been 100% right with, David Blatt, for example.
Right.
But a lot of the situation that we saw develop in Cleveland the second time around was his doing. Tristan Thompson's contract, for example. J.R. Smith's contract, for example. The trading of Kyrie Irving. People think Kyrie Irving just had enough. That was actually backdated all the way to the trade deadline of the off season that Kyrie was traded, where LeBron wanted to get Kyrie Irving traded for Chris Paul, and then when Kyrie Irving heard about it, he blew a fuse. So a lot of that had to do with LeBron just micromanaging everything and trying to get everybody, or trying to create the entire roster based off his buddies or who he thinks would be an easier sort of ride with. And I see a lot of the drama that he's created, and I think a lot of teams, that's why I think Philadelphia would have never worked. Can you imagine him playing alongside Ben Simmons?
No.
That would be horrible.
I never got that too. Everybody's telling me, well, Philly will work out. Like, what are you talking about? If you know basketball, you would know that's not a good fit.
And that's why I think LA is a disaster. When we talk,
you mentioned that in the podcast. I don't know if it's a disaster, but it's definitely a weird roster. Lance Stevenson, JaVale McGee, who am I missing?
I made that podcast prior to the Rondo deal,
right?
And Randall. But even if they had kept Randall, right? Rondo's an addition. I don't care what anyone says. People want to say, well, there's baggage with him or whatever. You get any team with Rondo on it to the playoffs, and he enhances your opportunity to win. Just think back to Chicago a couple of years ago against Boston when they were the number 1 seed. But when I say it's a disaster, obviously it's in relative terms to basketball, and I'm talking about there's just nothing there that fits on either side. The Lakers have a youth movement, or they had a youth movement going on with Kuzma and Ingram and Lonzo Ball.
Well, they still have it currently, somewhat, to some degree.
Sure, but look at and Julius Randle too. He's still relatively young, well, not anymore, right? Because he's no longer there. And now all of a sudden, now they're bringing in veterans, and they're going to be fighting for playing time. That development time is out the window for some of those guys. The hook on Ingram is much less now because you got Deshaun Stevenson. Now that can work. Lance Stevenson, not Deshaun Stevenson. But that can work in reverse too. Obviously, they can force them to elevate their games. But I thought they were developing nicely. And
me too.
So from the Lakers' standpoint, they're sort of, the last 4 or 5 years, ever since Kobe tore his Achilles, they've been rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And that rebuild has been accelerated into a desperate, we've got to try and get these pieces together to not waste LeBron's seasons. Now, from LeBron's standpoint, is he capable of changing his game to fit to his teammates? Because we've seen he's most successful, and we all know this, when he's surrounded by shooters. Mm-hmm. These guys are not consistent shooters. There's no Mike Miller on this team. There's no Kyrie Irving on this team. There's no Kyle Korver on this team. There's no J.R. Smith on this team. There's no Shane Batty on this team. Yeah, exactly. All these guys are incredible shooters. Even going back to the first time they made the finals, Mo Williams, Boobie Gibson, guys like that could catch and shoot. Who is on this team that can actually catch and shoot? There's none of that. And if he's incapable of adjusting his game to play with a Dwayne Wade, or play with Chris Bosh, or play with Kevin Love, and to an extent play with Kyrie Irving, although that was more of a your turn, my turn situation, not pass, here you shoot it, that's the only guy he's really allowed to sort of semi-play his role to his maximum capabilities. But there's no one near that in LA. So I just think from both standpoints, the only way this makes sense, and this is what I said on the podcast, that I got a bit of a backlash for it, but I don't care.
Of course you don't care, buddy.
Is for him to enhance his brand identity, because it's a bigger market. And if that's what his motivation is at this point of his career, I do not want to hear for the life of me how much he cares about winning. I do not want to hear it. If his number one motivation is his brand identity, I don't want to hear about how winning is an ultimate thing for him.
Would you rather him stay in Cleveland then, if that was the case? I mean, if he cared about, so what? I guess let me ask you this: what was the move to make if you care about winning?
I think the ship had sailed. I think he hasn't cared about winning since he won in 2016. Because you think about what he said in 2017, like, he'd almost given up before they even played the finals that year against Durant and the Warriors, saying that they were too big of a headache or whatever. And then you saw him play terribly defensively in that finals. What option was left? I don't know.
And it's funny. And by the way, that finals, though it ended in 5 games, a lot closer than you realize.
Oh, I know. And that's why I was so frustrated, because I thought he played horribly defensively. Had he picked it up defensively in some of those games, we're talking about a 6-7 game series. I agree 100% with that. That was a close 5-game series.
Yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous to say, but it really was.
Yeah. Well, we're
yeah,
actually about a LeBron error from having a 2-2 series going to Golden State for Game 5.
Oh yeah, you think of the pressure on Durant then, or Curry. Curry had a shocking 2016 finals, and all of a sudden you've blown a 2-0 lead. You're down. You're suddenly tied, and they've shown that they can win a big Game 5 in Oracle in the finals. They did it the year before, albeit without Draymond Green.
Right.
But to answer your question, yeah, if winning was the utmost importance to him, then sure, staying in Cleveland probably would have been his best opportunity. I guarantee you this: had he have given a guarantee that he was going to stay in Cleveland, Cleveland would have traded that draft pick before it became the number 8 pick. I guarantee that would have happened.
Every move he's made since leaving Cleveland. Like, we was going back to Cleveland in 2014 and going to LA this time in 2018. He's basically changed the narrative every time.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think he has this time. But going back to Cleveland, I think it was for the same thing. He saw greener pastures, a younger team. He saw how Kyrie Irving was developing. They had the number 1 pick. He didn't.
But it was sold as I owe you, Cleveland. I owe you. You know what I mean? That's how it's sold. We know the truth. What behind the matter is. I mean, you don't say that. You don't write a letter saying we need to take our time, and then you trade out your number 1 pick, Andrew Wiggins, out the door for Kevin Love.
Right. No, I agree with you. The perception's been totally different every single time.
Right. So I don't know. So you think it's a bad move in general to LA?
I do. As I said before, you can get rid of that youth movement right now. The only good thing about this is maybe it'll get Lonzo Ball out the door. Thankfully.
The Lonzo guy?
No. I don't think his game's bad, but I'm sick of hearing about him. Just show me that he's got some game, and then I'm happy to talk about him.
Are you sure that I tell folks on the podcast a lot, constantly, and I'm not saying I'm a Lonzo guy myself. I'm just saying that I don't want our perception of Lonzo Ball to be mixed up in how we feel about his dad.
I'm not talking about his dad, though. I'm just talking about his game.
Okay, good.
I think
good. As long as you're sure about that, because a lot of people seem to tie the two together, and it shouldn't be that way.
Well, as I said, the distractions you can't ignore, right? If you're running a team, especially when he starts calling out the coach and other players. And for some reason, he's got this huge media following. So whenever he says something, I don't know, the media gravitates it. They're obsessed with his stuff.
Because, I mean, look at our president we have right now. He's loose to the lips. Anybody who's loose to the lips, we're going to be attracted to. LeVar Ball is no exception.
Yeah. No, but when it comes to his game, if I saw something positive in his game, I would deal with it. But he's not a Donovan Mitchell. You know what I mean? What game does he have? He's a good for his position. He is a fantastic rim protecting guard.
Right. For
his position. Tell me one other thing that he is above average in the NBA.
Nothing right now. No, he's still a project. He really is a project still. Yeah, I agree. I feel like
come back. He's above average.
But I feel like right. I feel like he'll be okay with LeBron. It could possibly work out. I don't know. I'm just being naive. I don't know. Before we get off this topic about the Lakers and LeBron, where do you see this team in the Western Conference right now, pecking order?
Oh, barely, if they're lucky, making the 8th seed.
Wow, I keep hearing that though, and I'm like,
West. Though. Think about the West. All right, Denver missed the playoffs and they won 48 games,
and they had a lot of injuries too.
Yes, absolutely. The Clippers, you want to talk about injuries, they barely missed the playoffs. They won, 45, 46 games, something like that.
Missed the playoffs and lost their 2 best players.
And that's including the injuries as well, beyond the trading of their 2 not superstars, but at least star players. One was a perennial MVP candidate too. So they lost a lot, and they were still not that far off it. They'll be better. And they could. I wouldn't surprise me if they were the 7th or 8th seed. But look, there's a lot of teams in the West that will improve as well. Oklahoma.
I think my logic of the whole thing with LeBron. Okay, look, the Lakers last year won 35 games. And that's what Lonzo missing some time and a couple injuries here and there.
That was probably a positive.
You have to assume that LeBron's still right now we still agree, but LeBron is the best player in the league. Still, I mean, maybe it's tedious right now at this point, but he's still the best player in the league. he's still going to be worth at least 15, 20 wins, right?
Maybe not in the West. In the East, sure. If you put him on the Knicks or something in the East, then yeah, I'll be all on board for him being a top 3 seed.
It's actually a good segue because I want to discuss this with you. We'll discuss it now. I'm actually writing an article about this, a column about this on my site. I think, and I want to be clear here. I'll be clear in the article. I'll be clear here too on the podcast. I'm not saying the West is overrated at all. What I'm saying is that I think people overrate the West.
Explain.
Okay, so last year, you have the anomaly of the Golden State Warriors, of course. This in general, not just last year, it's in general. You know what they've done with Durant and that crew. Okay. You have Houston that won 65 games last year. Okay, everybody's talking about Houston though as they could do it again. My opinion is this: if they lose Clint Capella, this team might not get the first round next year. Clint Capella's important in that team. You got Chris Paul, who is it's a big contract, got hurt last year late. And is definitely injury risk. Can James Harden continue to play at that level for another year or two? I mean, that's a question mark. I think Houston could, depending on the roster next year, they lost Ariza, they can come back to the pack next year. Portland, they won 49. First off, only 2 teams won 50-plus games last year, and that was Golden State and Houston, number 1. Okay, Portland won 49 last year. They might not even keep their 2 stars. There's been trade rumors all year long, even into the summer, that they may trade McCollum and now Lillard's not being talked about as another guy who could be traded out of there. OKC, the disaster that was last year for OKC. Utah's trending up. Utah's the only team I can see really trending up that can really pop the bubble here.
What about the Pelicans?
The Pelicans, okay, they lost Rondo. Okay, now Boogie, obviously, they played better with Boogie after he got hurt. We'll see if Davis can take that next step. San Antonio, even if Kawhi is there next year, that's a distraction. Okay.
Yep.
Minnesota has their own distraction going on. But Jimmy Butler won't sign an extension because he's not a fan of the young guys there. That's a distraction. Right. I mean, Denver, the Clippers, of course. Yeah, there's a lot of there's nothing I can say I'm fully confident in the Western Conference. That
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm
saying? I see what you're saying. Look. But conversely, when you look at the East, right? Even if LeBron had stayed, but you look at the East as it stands now, you had the Raptors, and we all saw how terrible they were in the playoffs. Forget the sweep; we all know the sweep. But look at how bad they were up against a very dysfunctional Wizards team in the first round,
right?
And they barely got through that series. There were a couple of moments in Toronto where it looked like the Wizards. Ty Lawson looked like one of the better players in that series, and he had just come over from China for the Wizards. Then you had the Celtics, who last year played 55, 56, I can't remember how many wins they had, but how many injuries did they have, and they still racked up 50-plus wins. The 76ers, those 2 teams will rule the East for the next decade, barring horrible injuries or trades.
I think the East, to be honest with you, I think the East right now, honestly, is very interesting. Now with LeBron being gone, the East looks very compelling. I'm not saying that.
Can you name me a contender outside of, a legit contender outside of Philly or Boston?
No, I'm not talking contenders, but I think there's opportunities here for teams if they can put it all together. Like Washington, for example.
So if they can make a trade and bring someone else in, they're just one player away. Is that what you're saying?
Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel about Dwight Howard going there now? And Austin Rivers, they got out Gortat, bringing Dwight Howard. They now have Austin Rivers in that trade as well, too. John Wall hopefully be healthy this year. Bradley Beal, if they can figure it out, they have the talent. They were just a game for the conference finals 2 years ago. I mean, that's a team that you look out for. I think Milwaukee, as much as they let me down last year, can Giannis take the next step? They got a great coach, Budenholzer, in my opinion. They can take another step over. Indiana has a decent roster now. Oladipo, was that a fluke last year? Probably not.
I think that I'm leaning towards that was a fluke, but I'm happy to be proven wrong on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the kid. I think he's great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I think Toronto now. I think mentally, does not having LeBron there, Toronto will probably make some noise next year.
Oh, I'm not falling for that again.
Well,
even with LeBron not there, I think they would have been torn apart by Boston or Philly had they played either of those teams.
Well, I mean, in no way am I saying it's as good as the as the West. No, I'm not making that comparison. What I'm saying is that the West is a little more people overrate the West a little too much, and I think the East is a lot more compelling than people give credit for.
Well, allow me to just counter that quickly, because I know you want to get off the topic. Maybe it sounds like
no.
So the West, I agree with what you said about Houston. That there's no telling, especially if they don't re-up with Capella. If they lose Capella, man, look, they may have won 65 games last year, but I'm not sold on them. And they probably should have won the championship last year had Chris Paul not gotten injured. So they were right there, but the window is so short. How many times did we see Utah be so close to beating Chicago, and then they ended up getting bounced by Portland the next couple of years?
Exactly.
So I agree with you that window can be shut very, very quickly. The Warriors, I don't know what's going to happen there with Boogie. I'm sure we're going to talk about that. The Blazers, I thought they were exposed mightily in the playoffs for what they are. They are a high screen and roll team with nothing else. And now all of a sudden, maybe the fact that they're looking to trade either or both, McCollum or Lillard, is an indication they know how weak their roster is. I expect Oklahoma to be a lot better this year with a full season.
Let me tell you now, really quick.
Yeah.
If they can convince Carmelo Anthony to go off the bench and be the sixth man, that could be the team that can spoil the party next year.
Of course. It should have happened last season.
Well, but again, it's about Carmelo being humble enough to do that. As of his exit meeting after losing to Utah, he's still starting in this league. Still starting this league. so clearly the optics are against him right now.
Right. But you would just hope that he would realize what he could bring in terms of depth. I mean, if Manu Ginobili during his prime was pretty much a bench player because of what it allowed his team to accomplish, as long as they're getting minutes in the fourth quarter, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But hey, what's common sense, Who else
lacks it?
Yeah. The Pelicans, I am sold on the Pelicans and Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday. I think that's an incredible duo.
What's so sick about New Orleans, real quick though, is that I really believe there's another level of Davis. As great as he was last year.
Absolutely. We haven't seen him as a consistent offensive threat. We've seen him make, jump shots and things like that. But once he really starts to get comfortable in the post, as opposed to everything else that he can do, pick and roll, screen and roll, getting to the front of the rim, that kind of stuff, hitting the outside jumper. Once he adds that post game, which he should do in a face-up game, oh boy.
He may have already, in my opinion, but he should by next year leapfrog Kevin Durant.
Is Kevin Durant your best player?
No, LeBron is still LeBron. I think 2 and 3.
He doesn't play defense, though.
I mean, it's definitely. I did say this on the podcast last year, though. Either this show or on my other show, that by the end of next season, Anthony Davis will be the best player in basketball.
I said that a couple of years ago, and I was wrong.
But I did too. Steph Curry came in the picture instead.
Yeah. But we instantly dismissed Steph Curry because he doesn't play defense. So why is it that LeBron gets a pass as well?
Because again, he's doing these things. I mean, look, I know the East is still relatively weak to some degree, but he's still doing this. We did last year. Every time we are ready to move on for LeBron, believe me, I'm ready to move for LeBron in terms of seeing somebody else take the mantle. But every time we start to make that way to push him out of the way, he does something else. He does the all-time great run. He did the all-time great playoff run in history this past year. So we're always reminded of something because he reminds us again. Is he bad defensively? Of course. But again, look, I don't expect a guy at 33 years old to be a top defender in the league anymore, honestly. 15 years in. I just don't.
You and I have very different expectations because he's more than capable of still being
I think he could.
Top-notch defense player.
The problem is that when you're putting so much, when you're supposed to be the best player on one side of the ball and to carry the weight he does, see, that's the thing. This is why I will still say Miami LeBron was better because he had the help, because he had some help, even if Wade was hurt a lot, he still had enough help to put more effort on that side of the ball. In Cleveland,
you don't think he's had help the last few years in Cleveland?
I think he had help. No, but Kyrie, yeah, absolutely. But I think this past year, no.
Kevin Love, George Hill.
Kevin Love was hit or miss. Like he
because he was never getting the. Okay, let me ask you.
No. He wasn't featured enough. I agree with that 100%. And I said it many times over. He's a lot of the problems here are LeBron's problems too. This is why he was not MVP. You don't get credit for fucking up early in the year and making it up for later in the year. No.
Sure.
Period. This is why I say Harden all the way long. Don't give me stats. I don't care.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was his fault. I agree with 100% there. But again, like this is where the Pippen. Okay, back to the Jordan thing. This is the value of Pippen. I put Pippen on the best player on the other team. Jordan could be Jordan. LeBron doesn't have that option in Cleveland, at least this past year.
But the thing as well with Pippen is Jordan allowed Pippen to become the player that he was.
I agree. Jordan made Pippen who he was.
But the other thing, Jordan was smart enough to realize what his teammates do best and not try to take away from that. He knew that Steve Kerr was a shooter. He didn't go out and try to shoot the ball. Mm-hmm. He knew that Dennis Rodman was a rebounder. He didn't try to get 15 rebounds a game. Mm-hmm. He knew Pippen was, in at least the second part of the second repeat, was a premier defender.
We allowed Pippen. Mm-hmm.
And whereas you see LeBron, he had Kyrie Irving alongside him. He still wanted to be the point guard. He saw that Kevin Love was the best post player. He never threw the ball into him in the post. And things like that, you've got to recognize the talents of your teammates and allow them to do their jobs so you can then fill in the holes. That's a sign of a great player. And that's the frustrations that I've had with him.
No, I agree 100% there. I'm not saying you're wrong there. It's why I have Jordan ahead of LeBron still on my list. Period. So this is how it is. I don't know. I just think that getting back to the conferences real quick though. I just think the West, we overrate that because we're so used to it that it's now become lazy to just say something different.
Right. I know. I'm with you on some of it. Allow me. What I was trying to get to is there is still a significantly bigger number of genuine contenders in the West than there are the East.
Oh, no doubt about that. That's not even an argument. I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
So I do agree with you that it has become just the sexy thing to say. Oh, the West is loaded. Blah blah blah. If Philly or Boston make it through to the finals, they'll give anybody that comes out of the West a headache, and they'll give them problems, especially if they're healthy. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you 100% on that. That it's not the complete imbalance that we saw in 2007 or 2002.
No, it's
but
not.
That being said, when you look at the bottom four to eight seeds, it's still heavily leaning towards it's much harder to make the playoffs in the West. Forget the standings because, of course, you're going to look at the bottom tier as well in comparison because that's where you rack up your wins if you're going to make it or sneak into the playoffs. I think the bottom.
Although last year was the first time you can say that while the West was still the better conference, at least the East made a push.
Whenever you have the Wizards or the Bucks, I think were the 7th seed, and the Wizards were the 8th seed. Mm-hmm. When you have those two were quality teams. Mm-hmm. And had you had told me prior to the season starting that they wouldn't just be the 7th or 8th seed, if you had told me that hey, both these teams are making it to the second round, I wouldn't have argued with you. I think the talent was there. So yeah, I agree with you that the East is ascending. That being said, when it comes to LeBron and the Lakers, I don't think that they're a guarantee to win 45, 50 games just because LeBron's there because it's not an easy ride because the West is much more difficult. Maybe not as difficult as it's shown to be.
Right.
But I think the 8th seed is still a difficult thing to make in the West, as you saw with Denver this past season.
Mm-hmm. The East just has more bad teams, period.
It's been that way for
Atlanta, Orlando, Chicago, Brooklyn, the Knicks. Obviously, Porzingis hurt, but even Charlotte underwhelmed last year. It's one of those things you just have to figure it out. All right, what else had on the agenda today to talk about? Okay, so
Marcus Cousins, didn't you want to?
Oh yeah, when you made your appearance in America finally, I sent you a little message saying, asking you are you going to do a pod on Boogie going to Golden State because everybody was freaking the fuck out after it happened, and you said no, not worth my time. Explain. Why is that worth the time?
It was worth my time.
Why isn't it worth their time?
Oh, okay. A couple of reasons. Even if he was healthy, I don't think it's as big of a deal as what it's made out to be. Because Golden State thrives in a running offense, a flowing offense. And whether it was in Sacramento or even in New Orleans, DeMarcus Cousins suffers from delusions at times. Maybe that's what you should call him, delusion cousin, because he gets to the point. I don't be getting the rebound and then pushing the ball up. I mean, he would actually, off inbounds passes, he would go back, not to inbound it, to bring the ball up. I was like, this idiot. You know, he's 7 feet. What I think is there's so many, you know, there's a lot of ifs for it to be like this break the NBA, groundbreaking situation. Because if he is healthy, if, you know, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant all mold their games to fit in rather than him molding his game, and then on top of that, if he gets along with his coach, something that he's never really done, those three things are massive. You know, I'm not confident that he's going to be. Name me one player in the NBA or the NFL that has been as explosive or equally as explosive as what they were prior to popping an Achilles.
None.
Yep. So I'm not sold on him either.
Exactly.
And
I agree. Everybody's freaking out. Not only that, that's a 12 to 15 month injury minimum. Okay, he got hurt in January. He's talking about December. I'm like, no, dude, I don't see you even making a comeback till March, April, which by then there's not enough time to acquiesce yourself to the team. So why is everybody freaking out about this move?
I think it's just because people love to overreact.
Yeah.
And honestly, what this reminds me of, and you would know this being the Heat fan that you are, is when the Heat signed Greg Oden. And I think it was after they won their their second championship.
Correct.
And everyone was saying, well, if he can get healthy, well, you know what?
No.
I'm sure Boogie Cousins will be back, but I don't think it's going to be, you know, the guy putting up 60 points in Sacramento that he did that one game.
Do you understand that when Greg Oden played for us that year, whenever he made the floor, I gritted my teeth every time he was on the floor. Because I was like, don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt.
Some people are just jinxed by that, man. But yeah, so I just view it as a non-factor. At this point, there's just too many variables. The only thing that was actually interesting wasn't the move itself, it was the reaction. I just got popcorn and watched it. It was just... maybe I'm being too dismissive here. Tell me if I'm being wrong.
No, I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I said that my boss.
on something.
We gotta stop that. We gotta stop agreeing with each other. This is not good. I don't know.
Come on, we're like 45 minutes in. We agreed on one thing.
No, but the thing is it's like I get the fact that if he's healthy, if he does the miracle, if he has the Kobe, I don't know, the Germany thing, maybe he gets healthy, maybe
it wasn't the same.
And even then, it's I mean, forget the fact that that injury is that injury to that guy that size.
Yeah.
That's not easy to come back from.
But
I mean,
even if all that happens, there's still no guarantee that he fits in with that offense or that style.
Of course. There's a reason no one wanted to commit to him. There's
I don't
reason
believe
why.
that, by the way. Do you believe that?
I'm back and forth on it personally, and to be honest, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. But I just hate BS.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because even if teams didn't offer me anything, it's legitimate. First off, you won't be available for me until the third quarter of the year, fourth quarter of the year. So what? I mean, what value do you have? The timing of the injury is bad.
Hey, he's never played a playoff minute, has he?
Nope.
Awesome. And there was that reaction for the guy that's never played in the playoffs. Cool.
That's fucked up, dude. No, but seriously, like we freak out with these things. Oh, and you have these idiots on of course, you know, Twitter outrage. Oh, I'm not watching next year. Why watch basketball?
I guarantee you
you're watching the game next year. Shut up.
I guarantee I would bet them that my NBA League subscription pass that they will be subscribing before I do.
Exactly. Like, come on, man. It's something to talk about. I get it. It's July. You know, nothing to talk about right now. Come on.
But here's the frustrating part. They could have this conversation rather than these, you know, little temper tantrums that, you know, oh, the league's broken. It's not. Look, the league is broken in terms of conferences. I'll give you that. I've always said that. And I hated the fact that Kevin Durant went to Golden State.
Me too.
But, and I liked Boogie Cousins for a long time, but right now, he does not break the NBA. He does not break the NBA.
No.
Now, if it was LeBron going to Golden State, then this was the same reaction had LeBron gone to Golden State. It was ridiculous.
My thing is this: is that it's overreaction again. A guy who may not even play next year. Just for the record, that injury is so severe that it is quite possible he may not play next year.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to be overreactive to it, but that's a 12 to 15 month injury. So if you do the math on there, and he got hurt this past January, that puts you at the worst into April.
Yeah. Oh, you mean at the best?
Or the best? Well, no. Well, worst case scenario would be April. 15 months would be April.
But we don't know how it's going to react. I mean, what good is it? Okay, maybe he's walking at that point.
He's saying December. By the way, what I would have done.
What did I call him before? Delusions Cousins. There we go.
Yeah. Well, and by the way, like, I'm not sure if the report is true. Like, the Pelicans have said that publicly after he got signed that they offered him a 2-year, $40 million contract before the year ended. Honestly, I would have taken that contract with a player option in second.
Did they offer him the player option?
That's what there's. Well, I don't know the details on that one. I would have taken the player option to get to cash out in year 2.
Yeah, I agree. I can't believe for the life of me no one that it was only Golden State that took a flyer on him. Look, if he wants to go to Golden State, just go there. Don't make up a big story.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? I mean, this guy may not even be the same guy again anyway. So what are you talking about right now?
Exactly. No one just. If that's the type of player that he's lying to the media, I'll tell you what, he may fit in very well with Golden State then, with Kevin Durant's multiple Twitter accounts.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I had to throw that in.
It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I wrote a piece about that a couple weeks ago, and I love Kevin Durant, and I just now have a hard time rooting for him. I just do. It's hard.
Why?
It's not even the Golden State stuff. It's the I feel like he's changed a lot. Like, is the guy that which Durant is real? Is it Durant that was the kid in OKC 4 years ago, MVP with the backpack, the Bible in his backpack, or is it the guy now who's getting technical fouls every fucking game?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it's tale of two guys here.
Well, Leopard never changes the spots, man.
I don't know. It's quite disappointing, in my opinion. Kawhi.
You wanted to talk top 10, didn't you? We got time.
Yeah. Okay, okay, do this quick. We'll do it in a second. Kawhi, your thoughts on the Kawhi stuff with San Antonio? You think he'll stay there another year, or is he gonna? What are your thoughts on this whole thing, man? This is so fascinating, even more than LeBron.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm torn by this because I always give a player the benefit of the doubt if he says he's hurt, but now if he's threatening to sit out the season before it started, right? First of all, I think something would have had to have happened. He's not going to talk about it, but something would have had to have happened between him and Greg Popovich. So egregious that it's led to this because he never had these issues before. So something must have happened. I don't know what it was, but I don't know if Popovich got drunk one day and said something completely unforgivable. I don't know. Maybe he tried trading him for Chris Paul, and Kyrie, I like Kyrie Irving. But getting back to it, I've always given a player the benefit of the doubt when they've said that it hurt, and I gave him the benefit of the doubt last year. But now that he's still threatening to sit out, or at least these are the reports from San Antonio. So I don't know if that's true or not. But if the report is true that he's threatening to sit out, then maybe he wasn't hurt last year. So that to me is a bit disappointing. I'll agree that it's fascinating, but I don't really have an opinion on it. It's so much drama that it feels like it should be in the WWE rather than.
Yeah, and here's the thing else too. What's true?
Yeah.
We didn't hear the truth. We're still in the dark about what is the reason why. Because now we hear he's mad about what Tony Parker said publicly and Manu said publicly.
Well, Manu didn't say much. In all fairness, Manu just said, "Hey, we got to prepare for the fact or the reality, which turned out to be true.
Yeah,
you got to go on without Kawhi Leonard." What Parker said is completely unforgivable.
Yeah,
especially if he was hurt. Even if he wasn't hurt, for your teammates to come out and say that's unacceptable.
Well, that would piss you off too. You're Kawhi.
Oh yeah, it pissed me off, and I'm not even. I'm not fan.
Well, do you think he goes to LA?
I don't know because I think he's a bit. Look, maybe I could see a situation where he goes to LA, but I'm not sure if he's the type that wants to play alongside LeBron. And there's a lot of players that probably do not want to play alongside LeBron.
Well, it's funny. I've heard some people talk about this. Like, I saw a tweet from somebody really important, and he was talking to a bunch of like GMs and executives, and he was saying that he heard that LeBron now at 33 does not have the pull that he had once. Maybe because of the Cleveland years and what happened there and the polarizing nature of it all. I mean, the fact that Paul George didn't go there, I mean, which obviously I get to in a second. Paul George going to OKC, staying in OKC. I think LeBron doesn't have the pull that he once did.
Has he ever got a free agent to really sign with him?
Well, I don't know. Do you want to count Chris Bosh or no? Because, I mean,
that
was all planned.
I think you can count Chris Bosh, even though Chris Bosh technically was there before him.
No, right, but come on, we all know that was all
planned. But as I said, I count Chris Bosh.
Right. I mean, you're talking about major free agents, right?
Yeah.
No, nobody.
Nowhere near.
Because Kyrie was already there. Kevin Love via trade. No, I mean you can't. I mean you can say Shaq and whatnot, but
that's not
exactly past their primes. Antoine Jameson past. Those are trades too. That was a trade also. So yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
So maybe he never really had that pull.
I don't think people want to. There's a lot of players who just don't want to have their own team.
Yeah, well, Kobe kicked Shaq off the team for that.
Yeah, people just want to have their own space.
Shaq was actually much closer to his prime than when he was in Cleveland.
Well, let me ask you this though: if you're Paul George, do you rather play LeBron or Russell Westbrook?
Oh, Westbrook, without a question.
Why is that?
Westbrook wants him on that team. I'll tell you what, if you're Paul George and you start struggling, how long, and you're alongside LeBron James, how long before the leaks start coming out? Just like we saw.
You don't think having Paul George, and this is assuming that Kawhi would have worked out. This is assuming Kawhi would have been traded this week. I think he saw the tea leaves that, okay, I'm going to be the third wheel. If I'm playing with LeBron and Kawhi, okay, I'm the third wheel. And I saw what Chris Bosh went through in the media. I saw what Kevin Love went through in the media. Yeah. That I would pull back a little bit and say, I don't know about that.
Right. I think as well, Russell Westbrook, for all the things that are said about him, he's shown the ability to adapt. People forget he wasn't a point guard coming into the NBA.
No.
He's adapted his game on so many different levels, whether it's playing alongside James Harden and Kevin Durant, to learning how to play point guard, to changing coaches, to pretty much having to do everything 2 seasons in a row. He's shown the ability that he can change his game. Now, it'll be very interesting. If he doesn't change his game now to fit in with Paul George in the next couple of years, I'll have a different opinion of him. I'll say, no, he just wanted the spotlight.
Right.
Because he's got a very talented co-star who wants to actually play and is committed to play alongside him. But as we're speaking right now, whether it's LeBron or Westbrook, who I'd rather play with, it's clearly Westbrook. I know that Westbrook, for all his ills, if he's going down throwing haymakers.
You saw in Game 6 of Utah in the first round.
Absolutely. He had that entire series, well, not that entire series, the last couple of games in that series, he was unbelievable. Now, there were a couple of games prior to that was very questionable. The Rubio situation, and also Donovan Mitchell getting some good games on him. Mm-hmm. But that's a learning experience for him too.
No, I like that he stays OKC, honestly. And this was the first year that Westbrook actually frustrated me a little bit. I feel like Russ has to take a step back a little bit to, the same thing what Jordan had to do in 89, 90, 91, whatever. You had to take a step back and get guys. But I will say something. I will say this though. One thing I will say that in comparison to Kevin Durant, he actually went on his way to make sure he wanted Paul George back here. Whereas I don't think he did that with Kevin Durant. You know
this is the one thing I've never understood about athletes. Why? Why is that needed?
Massage egos, man. They want the massage ego. It's weird. I get it. That's their world, dude. That's just their world.
If they're that sensitive, though, then man.
By the way, go ahead.
Yeah.
No. By the way, before we get to the top 10 thing, I don't want to touch this one topic. That Chris Paul deal. I mean, first off, Houston could have gave him 5 years. They were smart not to, by the way.
He would have been approaching 40 then, wouldn't he?
He'd be 38 years old. Had he gotten 5 years of that deal, he'd be 38 years old in year 5 with a contract at well above $40 million. I think this is a good deal for Paul in Houston for one reason. You're still going to get the most out of the most on that contract. I'm not saying all of it, but I would say Chris Paul will be great for at least definitely half of that contract, and probably year 3 as well too. Beyond that, I can't speak on year 4, but I think it was still a good deal. I was against the 5-year deal for Houston because of the fact that you're not going to get his best years at all on the back end.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing about Chris Paul. His game has never been defined by athleticism.
Right.
So if he gets old, that's fine. That's fine by me. Like if he loses a step or two, he's still smart enough and still good enough.
That is true.
To still control the game. So I'm not too concerned that if this was Russell Westbrook, if this was Baron Davis, if this was Steve Francis, like point guards that we've seen that are completely dominating the game athletically, Derrick Rose is another example.
Yes.
And then they fall off really quickly once that first step is no longer as explosive. So I like the deal. I think Houston had no choice but to re-sign him. Yeah. Based off the success of last year, they would have lost their entire – they would have been a mutiny had they not.
And basically, and you know what? They're going all in. They're going all in. They're going to – well, I mean, that's what we're hearing now, that they're going to match any offer Capella gets. So they're going to go all in next year. Basically, they're doing – you teased a little while ago about the whole thing with Utah and having that 2-year window, 3-year window to win a title, and then Jordan shutting it every time. But this is their window. This is the 2-3 window. They took Golden State to 7 games last year. And forget the boogie stuff, man. That's all bullshit, okay?
Bullshit Cousins.
Bullshit Cousins. I think Houston, if they bring back Capella, and I don't know the rules in this thing. I'm sure that shouldn't be an issue. Don't be surprised if Ariza is back in Houston by the end of next year. Traded back to Houston. Him, yeah. Don't be surprised. I'm telling you right now. Don't be surprised.
Where did he sign? I didn't even catch it. I know he signed elsewhere.
1 year Phoenix.
He's going to be back.
You know what I'm saying? Don't be surprised if
there will be a buyout, man, and he'll be back to the league.
Because it's within the rules. Because it's not like it wasn't a trade or a waive. He was a free agent. He went to sign in Phoenix, and I think
there'll be a buyout. I'm with you on that. I wish there was odds on that. I would jump on that.
Yes, I said that on the podcast. Don't be surprised he's back. Don't be surprised if Phoenix cuts him loose and this cuz, you know. I think if they bring the roster back, they're gonna be okay.
I think they'll be fine. But keep in mind, they probably should have beaten Golden State. Had that, and I'm not saying they could have, should have, would. I'm not talking about a bad call. I'm talking about a player getting injured. You can't control that.
Yeah. I think I still think Golden State would have won the series, but I don't think you would have seen the 27 in a row, 3-pointers missing in a row in games with Chris Paul on the court. Trust me on that.
No, I agree with you.
Okay. Now we get out of the way. Top 10 updated version. I think you and I did this about way back when one of the first pods we did together back in 2012, 2013.
Well, then we'll definitely have different lists of what we've got now.
Yeah. So my list, and by the way, this can change again. I go back and forth because I go back and forth on 3 and 4 now. My top 5 in order: Jordan 1. 2, 3. Okay, honestly, 2, 3, and 4 can go either way because I had LeBron, Kareem, Magic in that bubble there, 2, 3, 4 bubble, and then 5.
What's your ranking as of today?
Like, probably wants to put Magic ahead of Kareem again because think about as great as Kareem was. Think about Kareem before Magic got there, the Lakers, the mid to late 70s. They were a mediocre team.
He won 1 title with Oscar Robertson.
No, I'm talking about the Laker years though.
He wasn't there before Magic was there. They were there the same year.
No. But Kareem was there for a couple of years before Magic got there.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I have to keep talking.
Yeah, you can check if you want to, but he was there a couple of years, and they were mediocre at best. The Magic gets there, and they win titles. And again, I think there's a lot of value in Magic and being the winner guy, and what he did with the Laker teams in the late 90s, losing Kareem to retirement, and that 91 team that should have even been in the finals, beating Portland in 6 games in the Western Conference Finals, and they lost to the Bulls. Yeah, and you can say the Bulls beat Magic and the Lakers, but the Bulls were the heavy favorites in that series for the record. People forget that.
Actually, no, they weren't. I looked this up.
No, they were heavy favorites in that series. The Lakers.
You're right about Kareem. I just looked that up. He was there from '76 onwards. Yeah. But the Bulls were considered massive underdogs because
No, I don't remember that at all. First off,
no, I looked this up because somebody messaged me about
Matt,
this. I
Matt,
said,
Matt, first off,
let me finish. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Because someone on my page actually responded to this and corrected me, and I couldn't believe what I was reading either. Especially after they lost Game 1, they thought that Jordan was going to choke under the pressure of the finals, the same way that he had struggled team winning wise in the conference finals up against the Pistons. So I had always said that they were the underdogs leading into the 93 series, as they were in the 98 series. Apart from that, they were always the favorites. But someone pointed out to me that the Lakers were actually considered the favorites because of the experience factor.
I don't remember that at all because I watched that series number one. I remember watching that series live when it came on. First off, heading into that season, the Bulls were favored to win the title that year. People were saying first off, in that year, the Lakers weren't supposed to be in the conference finals that year, much less. Okay, right. Magic Johnson. They were sort of remember that was to start their youth movement with Vlade and all those guys. Yeah. That was an upset because Portland was supposed to be there again.
I agree with that. That's not disputed. It's when they were actually heading into the series, and especially after Game 1, they expected the Lakers became the favorites.
At all. Anyway, I think picking Lakers win that series at all. Even after Game 1, people were shocked they won Game 1 first. Remember, the Bulls went through that playoff run and dominated. They
lost one game.
Yeah, they swept New York, lost one game in Philadelphia, swept Detroit, and then lost one game in L.A.
Hmm. Yeah, that was one of the great playoff runs of all time because it took a Sam Perkins 3.
Yeah.
No one really saw coming.
I remember that game, too.
And a Charles Barkley 46-point, 20-something rebound game 3.
Yeah.
For them to get over the line.
Remember that game, too.
Apart from that, I mean, everyone says that the Pistons were old. That's a lie. That's an absolute.
They were on the high end. I mean, you gotta remember too. Back then too, even though you played 8 years in the league, 9 years in the league, that then because of the physicality of the game was considered old.
But Isaiah was only 29.
But a lot of deep runs in the playoffs.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that there were a lot of deep runs.
Physical too. And you got to add in the physicality of the game back then too.
Yeah, I'll give you all of that, and they didn't have advanced sports science or anything like that. But Isaiah, as I said, was only 29. How old was Jordan? Jordan had to be close to 29.
His first time was 27, right? Yeah, 27.
So he's close to that. Isaiah Thomas was 27. Dennis Rodman was 28 or 29 because remember it took a couple of years for him to even go to college. Bill Laimbeer was over 30.
Oh, he was old. He was older side too.
Yeah, he was well over 30. So that team wasn't that old. You could argue that maybe they were fatigued and they were worn out, but they weren't old.
Don't forget, though, that team in 87 went 7 games in the conference finals against Boston. 88 went to the Game 7 in the NBA Finals. 89 won the championship. 90 won the championship. And by the way, that 90 team, the Bulls almost beat them too. The Bulls go to 7 games in the conference finals. So they had a lot of long playoff runs that, and physical, too. Don't forget, physicality, too.
Getting out of the East was no joke back then.
Yeah, so it's hard to do what they did, too, with the less talent in comparison to the other teams. I mean, you had Isaiah and Dumars, of course, Hall of Famers or whatever, and Rodman, but their style of play was not something that was good for the long term because of the physicality of it all.
Sure. But surely you can see what I'm saying, though, by saying that then they weren't an old team. Everyone says they were old. Jordan had to wait for them to get old before they... No, that's not true. I can't buy that.
Well, it took Jordan's 4th attempt to beat him, though. It was his 4th attempt.
Yeah, but it wasn't because they were old. It was the fact that he actually had an all-star to play alongside him, finally.
Well, Pippen grew up, eventually.
Yeah.
So that's my 5. So, I would say, okay, when we ended the finals, I had Jordan, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, and Wilt. I'm still back and forth on the Kareem Wilt thing. And to be honest with you, LeBron, I still wonder if I give him too much credit for being that high.
Okay.
So I'm still.
So just so we're clear here. So you got MJ at 1. Is Magic at 2, or is Kareem?
That's at 4 right now.
But, okay. So it's MJ, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Wilt.
Right.
Okay. Who you got at 6?
6, I had Russell. I know it's the other era, but again, he can't be penalized for something he had no control over.
Sure.
He's a winner. Period. 7, Duncan. 8, Kobe. 9, Bird. And I can't believe I did this, actually. And the only reason I get Bird, Bird, let me be clear. If Bird had a longer career, he'd be ahead of like 3 of those guys on that list right there. Because he's back. That's all.
Cool.
But his peak was great. His 4-year peak, 83 to 87, 84 to 87, one best peaks in the history of the game. 10, and I, for years, ignored him but I had to do it. I had to give it to Shaq. I had to. And I am so critical of Shaquille O'Neal. I'm probably the most critical. To me, he is the most disappointing all-time great in history of sports, in my opinion. But this is me.
He should have been the greatest player of all time.
Thank you. So you get it. You get it.
And when I say that, it isn't because of, such and such should have happened. If he had basic basketball fundamentals, the ability to make a foul shot, the ability to step out on a pick and roll, or the ability to make a 10-footer, these are basic fundamentals that you see in college. If he had any of those 3, he would have been the greatest player of all time.
Matthew, he didn't take care of himself when he had to.
He didn't care enough.
And that's my problem. Yeah, he's my top 5 right now, if that was the case. Easily top 5.
Oh, without question. I would say he would have been the best player. Had he had those 3 basic skills, that's why I say he's the most athletic guy to ever play the game.
Yeah.
I'll give you my top 10, and it's a bit different. We got pretty much the same guys, but, there's one guy you left off that we'll talk about.
Elijah won?
Yeah. So first
because he was 10. He was 10 before Shaq.
Okay. Well, I got him significantly higher. He's not even teetering right now.
Okay.
I've got MJ number 1, Wilt number 2, Magic number 3, Bird number 4, Russell number 5, Hakeem number 6, Kareem number 7, LeBron number 8, Duncan number 9, and Kobe over Shaq at number 10.
I love you. Look, I love you for Elijah high. I love it. I think I think he's the most complete center in the history of the game, personally.
Oh, without question.
Because of what he can do.
What did it do? He was maybe the most complete player in NBA history. Not even.
I do think though, if he had won one more ring when Jordan actually played,
yeah,
possibly they played the Bulls and they probably beat the Bulls. Who knows?
Okay,
that might have helped his case a little more.
Look at who he went through to win his titles. Forget Jordan.
It's not a penalty again. Again, 10 for me is 10A, 10B. Because I had Elijah on that slot too, also at 10 for a long time. But Shaq's peak, and I had to go back, and this is why it's hard to do these lists now, because Shaq's peak was so, like, it was Jordan-esque. Let's put it that way. It was Jordan-esque.
It was
dominant. In terms of dominance. Okay?
There's no question about that. But so was Hakeem's in 94 and 95 of the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did things that you couldn't believe. He averaged 35 and 15 on the MVP and David Robinson.
I remember that.
We're not talking about an old Dikembe Mutombo. We're talking about the actual MVP of the league, David Robinson. He put 35 and 15 on him.
Well, first off, I'm glad he put LeBron ahead of Kobe. As long as he put LeBron ahead of Kobe, and I love Kobe Bryant, but these people talk about Kobe's better than LeBron. Stop that. Please stop. Stop.
I get it. I'm happy to hear their point of view for it, as long as it's not something stupid like, 5 over 3. I mean, that's part of it, but that's not everything.
Right. Thank you.
But I got Wilt at number 2. We're differing on there. I got Bird at number 4. People say I'm a racist for that. I can't believe that. You think I'm kidding.
Are you serious? Dude, tell people to look at me from 84, 87, and think Larry Bird was the best player in basketball for those 4 years, without question. Stop.
The only guy you could even compare that to or argue for would be Magic.
Exactly.
But even then, that's not really much of a conversation at that time. The next couple of years, clearly Magic. But I'd laugh at that because my top 11 players, I've got one white guy, and I happen to be racist because I've got one white guy. And it's got absolutely nothing to do with his race. The reason I have Bird so high is you're right about the peak. That dominance where he won 3 straight regular season MVPs, 2 straight titles, 3 finals appearances, all that, all the statistics covering the board completely, playing defense, even though he had no athleticism, as you mentioned, his back was giving out on him for a lot of those games, and yet he was still dominating the game. His intellect, with the exception of maybe Bill Russell, is second to none, or maybe Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson. There's no one you can even compare that to. For him to dominate the game, I talked about Shaq being the most athletic player of all time. Larry Bird, his athleticism was a complete hindrance. and yet he still dominated the guy like the likes of Dr. J, James Worthy, young Scottie Pippen, all those guys. He tore them to shreds. All these uber athletic small forwards. Dominique Wilkins is another one. Adrian Dantley's another one. Mark Aguirre's another one. Dennis Rodman's another one. All these guys that were so much more athletic, and he made them look like they just picked up a basketball for the first.
The context he's here. This is actually going back, going deep. This is a deep dive now. This is a deep dive into the reasoning.
Did you expect any less?
Nope. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, man. That's why I love doing this podcast with you, because you bring proper perspective on this. And you're right. The small forwards in that era was actually pretty damn good. People may not remember Adrian Dantley and Mark Aguirre and company, but those guys are fringe to borderline Hall of Famers.
Yeah. If they don't know who they are, there's no point in even having a deep dive.
Yeah, because they're not gonna know. They have to. They got to put the work in number one to do that. Yeah. But the only reason I even feel bad putting Bird that low. Is Duncan in the top 10?
Yeah, I go to number 9, just ahead of Kobe.
Okay. I go back. I was telling you, I go back and forth to 2, 3, and 4. Mm-hmm. Even 8 and 9, I still go back and forth with Bird and Kobe, because I can argue that Bird is better than Kobe. And it wouldn't sound stupid.
I think I just did.
But no, you did.
Yeah.
But I think what I give Kobe credit for more than anything else is longevity.
Well, yeah, look, I get that that's a part of it, but there was never a period where, Kobe was the best player in the NBA from 2007 up to 2009. You could probably argue
2006 to 2009, even though he had a horrible Laker team.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, 35 a game, 81 points, all that. Yeah. So you can talk about that, right? But the difference between him and number 2 in the league was you could argue for Kevin Garnett, you could argue for LeBron James, obviously. You could argue there was a bunch of players right there, Tim Duncan as well. Dwayne Wade's another player.
Dwayne had a year or two you can make an argument for. Yep.
Yeah, it was highly. Whilst if somebody said that Kobe was the best during that era, I wouldn't argue. I would happily listen to other people's points of view. However, if somebody said that there was a better player in the league from 84 to 87 than Larry Bird, I'd laugh at them. I'd absolutely. Now, if someone said that Magic was better in the 80s than Bird, I'd accept that, but it's only for Magic. Nobody else, only for Magic. Mm-hmm. If someone says that Jordan was better than what Bird was in the 80s, I would laugh in their face.
No. I agree with you 100%. I think top 10 is boring now. I think we have to make case for top 20 now.
Top 50 players of all time.
No, because now with all these great players that come to the pike the last 15, 20 years now. Like, remember, the NBA in 50 did their thing 22 years ago. Okay?
Should be a new one coming up, right?
Yeah. I think next year or the year after. I mean, the thing is, NBA 75, I think, right? NBA 75. So, yeah. The thing is now, we've had, since that list was made, and we should do a podcast on that one day, going back into the NBA 50 and adding 10 more.
25 more it should be.
10 more is more challenging, though, I think, because...
Well, that's what makes the top 10 so much better now, because we're not even talking about Dr. J. We're not talking about Oscar Robertson or Jerry West, Karl Malone.
But top 20, I was thinking... Here's my question to you, post-finals now.
Okay.
Is Kevin Durant a top 15 player all time now?
No. Top 20, I'd listen
to... Top 20, yes?
Yeah, top 20. I'd give it to him top 20. He's won 2 titles and he's...
2 MVPs.
One of the great scorers of all time, and he's playing defense. But I can't give him in top 15 because I just ran off 5 names straight away that we should be talking about. As I said, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, Oscar Robertson, Dr. J.
Isaiah Thomas,
always forgotten Isaiah. That's 5 players right there that I would easily have over Kevin Durant at this stage.
Have you seen Bill Simmons' book? His top. Well, now, granted, it's like 8-9 years old now, but his.
Oh yeah, I read that. Yeah.
Did you read that? Did you agree with that?
In terms of what?
His list? Did you agree with his list?
That was actually. I'll give you that was a motivation for starting. I Still Love This Game. It was actually my friend's book. I didn't buy it. And he passed away. And we were always going to do the podcast together. Mm-hmm. But I did it sort of for him. And but no, I didn't. There were certain things that I agree with, but I hated the fact that he always made like the story about him. So if you hear me, everything I've just talked about with the players, I've always talked about what the players did, not how. I remember he was talking about Jordan being number one, and the story that he gave, or the evidence that he gave, was a random game when he was a Wizard and he made a jumper and he winked at the crowd. Like, that's such a weak argument. There's so many better arguments you can bring up or bring to the table as to Jordan, why Jordan's number one.
Right.
And it's too biased. It's just way too biased, man. I get that he's a fan and that's what he's, really built himself on, but don't present yourself as a historian, because that's a load of crock. Because he has never let go with certain players, like Vince Carter winning Rookie of the Year over Paul Pierce. That's one example. Like, just let it go. But I get that you don't like him. I'm referring to Bill Simmons, not you, but I get that he doesn't like him. But if you're going to present yourself as a historian, at least be impartial, because someone will read that and they'll think what you're saying is.
I don't think he's a historian, though. I think he's a fan who just knows the game of basketball pretty well. Like, I would never, like me, if I wrote a book right now, I would never consider myself a historian. I just love the game. I just don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So,
but would you present yourself as being unbiased or biased?
It'd be hard for me personally to do something without a bias to some degree.
Okay.
It'd be hard. This is why but this is also why I wouldn't frame myself as a historian. For that
but
reason.
He does frame himself as a historian. That's the thing.
Well, that's different.
That's the issue I got with him. And also, I also think that he was just leading up that entire book. I remember it now. This is the biggest issue I had with it. He wanted to just he put Magic ahead of Bird just so he could then turn around and say the 86 Celtics were better than the 96 Bulls. And if anyone said that he was biased, he pointed to that. Mm-hmm. It felt like the entire book was just leading to that point. And that, to me, disappointed me greatly. Because I could make an argument. I could make 10 arguments as to why the 86 Celtics were better than the 96 Bulls.
Next time I think we did the ranking. I think we did we did this one time on the podcast a couple years ago. But we should do a top 10 individual teams.
Yeah.
Singular teams.
The point that I was going to make is there is so much you can actually point to as to why the Celtics were a better team, right? Yeah. But for him to really, really base that off. I'm trying to go ad lib here because I haven't read the books in years. Right. But I do remember the biggest point that he made was, this is an unbiased book because I put Magic ahead of Larry Bird. And the other thing he said was, well, look at how they struggled at the center position because they had Luke Longley. Anybody that knows basketball, anybody that watched any of the 96 Bulls knows that Luke Longley played sparingly. He started for them. The only time he got major minutes was up against Shaq. Every other time, Tony Kukoc was getting twice as many minutes as him because they just played Rodman on the center. Mm-hmm. And that's the lineup they ran with. Luke Longley is not an argument because he played less than a lot of their role players did.
That's right.
So that's a pathetic point to say, oh, well, you've got Bill Walton, got Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale in the post, and you got Luke Longley trying to guard him. No, that doesn't fly with me because Luke Longley doesn't even play a lot of those times. Mm-hmm. I know you're a fan of Bill Simmons, and if I saw him, I'd probably have a beer with him, but I don't respect him as a historian. Okay. Far too biased.
No, that's all right, and that's he fits today's 2018 narcissistic me culture. Now it is what it is. By the way, part of the reason why I was saying that I have a problem with Magic, I have a hard time ranking Magic, is because what's so impressive about Magic Johnson is not even his 5 wins. It's the 4 losses. Look at the teams he lost to in the finals.
Philly,
who arguably is an all-time top 5 team in NBA history. That 83 Sixers team is an all-time top 5 team.
Every team that won in the 80s was a top 5 team.
Okay. Magic Johnson, he's 5-4 in the finals, but the 4 losses are very impressive. The teams he lost to were phenomenal all-time great teams. 83 Sixers, 84 Celtics. Although I would say the 86 Celtics would definitely be better than 84 Celtics. That's not an argument. And then he beat the 87 Celtics with pretty much the same roster as 86. That's for the record.
Oh, yeah, but Bill Walton wasn't the same. Larry Bird was
No, of course. Yeah. Like I said, that was the start of the back problems. He lost to Philly, lost to Boston, lost to Detroit. The 89 Pistons team was all-time great team, in my opinion. And then the Bulls.
Yep.
So, Magic should be number 2, really, on my list.
Well, I give you that, but some of those losses were pretty bad. Like the way he played in the '84 series was
Trash
not
Johnson.
good.
I agree.
Yeah, trash. Um,
That was almost equivalent to LeBron in 2011. Almost.
yeah, the
Almost.
difference is the level of competition. I think that Celtics team runs rings around the Mavericks. Um, no, I'm with you on some of those losses. They're excusable losses. There's such a thing as excusable losses,
Yeah.
and a lot of those are. Um, no, I'm with you on that. I've got Magic number 3.
Right. Oh,
So
you haven't hired me.
yeah.
So, I'm the biggest fan of his on the planet. So,
Why do you have LeBron at number 2?
I think it's the whole scope. I mean, it's the longevity thing. It's the carrying the team, and I get it. It's his problem too. I don't know, man. It's just the way I saw Jordan as a kid. I hated him to death.
Right.
It's the same feeling I get watching LeBron.
Oh, you hate him?
No, just to be amazed by what he does. Like with Jordan, I hate him, but it's like, oh fuck me, dude. Jordan again, really, dude? He's so great. Gosh, you know what I mean?
See, I've grown up a lot more with LeBron than what you have. I mean, you're older now watching LeBron. LeBron to me is like Jordan is to you. I look at LeBron totally different. Although this last playoff run, I wasn't surprised when he was hitting game winners.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I actually got a lot of heat, for lack of a better term, when I made a video before the playoffs started about how LeBron developed his clutch gene. And I said the game that really kicked off wasn't against Boston, it was against Indiana, Game 4 of the 2012 playoff run. Mm-hmm. And they were down at halftime. They were down 2-1. It was in Indiana. And he and Wade took over that second half.
That's actually Dwayne's game more than anything else. LeBron did his thing, but Dwayne went off.
LeBron had an amazing game then as well. So I put that video out before the playoffs started, and I had a lot of people. I get it. I've got a lot of people that don't like LeBron that are on my page, and they were shocked that I wrote that. They're like, "What are you talking about? This guy's not clutch." And then he, made all those game winners. The only thing that I cannot buy with LeBron is the level of competition that he's had in the Eastern Conference. That to me is why his finals record matters so much.
Right.
Because if he was 500 in the finals, even if it was just 500, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, he's number 2, number 3 of all time.
But right, no, you got a point there. I will say the only thing I will say, and look, I still to this day, and probably will to the day I die, that I will hold 2011 against him.
Oh yeah, of course.
Period. And it's double for me because I'm a Heat fan, so I do that as a fan as well too.
But that's not just that though. We saw it in 2014. Forget the stats. If people just look at the stats and they don't get it, because anyone can post stats when you're down 15 points, right? What he did in 2013 prior to Game 6 and Game 7, even Game 6 for most of the Game 6 he was pretty bad too. 2014 he was atrocious. 2015 he was spectacular. I would have voted for him as Finals MVP even though they lost. 2016 spectacular last 3 games. 2017, horrific defensively. 2018, well, he was great in Game 1. Let's give him that. The final 3 games, I'm not giving him a pass if he broke his hand. That's his own stupidity. No one gave Amari Stoudemire.
If he broke his hand too, that's still speculative too. On top of that.
Well, no one gave Amari Stoudemire a pass in 2012.
It was still dumb. Yeah.
So when I look at that, I like that list is so terrible. And I'm not even talking about the time that he lost to the old Boston Celtics. They weren't even the big 3 anymore. They were Rajon Rondo with 3 role players in 2010 and 2009 up against that Orlando Magic team with, Dwight Howard was ascending, but who else did they have that was a genuine superstar of the game? No one. So it was really Dwight Howard versus LeBron, and Dwight Howard dominated that.
No, you got a point there.
There's too much there for me to just simply brush it off.
You do judge LeBron a lot more harshly than most, and you should. I mean, I think if you are proclaiming yourself the king and that you are the best player in the league, that you should be judged harshly. I agree with you.
I don't care about the king nickname, but what I care about is it's the Shaq thing, right? When we look at a player and we look at what he is athletically and what he should be, LeBron should be better than Jordan, just from an athletic standpoint, right? He's bigger. I'm not going to say he's stronger, but he's definitely bigger. and he's just as quick, at least in the open court, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has all the capabilities of being a better post player. He's meant to be a better passer. I don't buy that for a second either because of all the turnovers. He absolutely should be. And
he's a better passer, but he's a volume passer, and therefore
but look at all the turnovers that are associated with that. That's saying you're a better scorer, but you shoot 35% because you score more. He is a better rebounder. I'll give you that he's a better shot blocker in the open court, but all these things he should have eclipsed Jordan, and he never did. And that's where the frustration lies, and a lot of it comes down to just the mentality of, I guess, being enabled, because no one ever told him no, with the exception of Pat Riley. And surprise, that's his best years.
Yeah, and by the way, like he's a product of his environment. Like he was AAU, and they go to college and all. Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're right.
Being drafted by Cleveland that just wanted to appease him left, right, and center. The thing that turned me off him a little bit, or at least his camp, is the level that they stoop to make excuses for him.
Yeah.
And the whole Delonte West thing, that was an unbelievable low.
Which one?
Would go, excuse me?
Delonte West?
Yeah, his camp, the Delonte West.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They would, even if that was... If that was true, that's even worse that they would leak it. But for them to put that out as some kind of explanation as to why he quote unquote quit on the Cavs in the playoffs that year because his mind was elsewhere, man, I could think of nothing else than to throw your own mum under the bus like that.
Yeah, that's a strange situation. That was a Delonte West thing.
Yeah,
that's why
I was young when I heard that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It made no sense. Like, even if it was true, why would you run to the media about it to tell the whole world?
That's one of those biggest myths in his career that we still 10 years later don't know if it's true or not.
You think it was?
Anyway, Matt.
No, come on. What? Yes or no? Do you think it was?
I don't know. To be honest, I honestly don't know, and honestly, I really don't care. If he did leak it out like that, it's soft.
Okay,
I will say that. But
I'm happy with that for an answer.
But I don't know if it's true. I don't know. I mean, it could be true, but who knows?
Okay, I'm happy you get that. That was a better answer than I was expecting to get from you.
No, it's okay. No, it's so old anyway now too. I mean, people still use that.
But the point that I was making though is. The excuses. I'll give him excuses.
Oh yeah. I'm with you on that one. The excuses just can't give them. We doesn't realize it makes him look worse.
Sorry, it's one of them. I agree 100% that it makes him look worse. He doesn't realize that.
Like the whole thing with the cast. Like even if the cast was real or not, the gamemanship. It's stupid. Let's stop. Just own it, take it, and leave.
He would be a fantastic professional wrestler.
Oh, he would.
That question. I'm never talking about the flopping. He's already got the skills down pat for that. Yeah, but I mean, just the storylines and how to sell things, how to sell stories. I mean, he's got a pretty good fan following.
And he's still all-time great, though. Anyway, where can I find you? Okay, what's your next podcast, man?
In a couple of days. The next one is another NBA draft hypothetical. It's what if the Blazers had taken Kevin Durant. And ironically, really affects LeBron's career and it affects Kobe Bryant's career. Because remember, he was drafted by the Sonics. So Greg Oden was considered the more NBA-ready player, not necessarily a talent. So maybe the Sonics hold off trading Ray Allen. If the Sonics hold off trading Ray Allen, there's no way Kevin Garnett also goes to Boston. The East is wide open for LeBron for a couple of years.
Okay.
So, interesting stuff coming up.
Well, here's cool now. Now we're in the same time zone now.
Yes.
I guess come on your pod now more often.
Absolutely. I think we should really sit down and discuss doing a weekly joint episode.
Yeah, we should. I
think it'd be fun.
We should do that, definitely. Matt,
thanks for having me,
as always, man. Thank you so much.
All right.